The Reds and Giants are poised for the first series of the season. We're going to tell you who wins on today's Locked On MLB crossover.
You are Locked On MLB crossover, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Welcome in. My name is Jeff Carr. His name is Ben Kaspick. He is the host of Locked On Giants. I'm the host of Locked On, or one half of the Locked On Reds show. And we are both lifelong fans of our teams, and we've been loving podcasting about them. You can check out our daily episodes if you are not familiar with Locked On Reds or Locked On Giants, because we cover our teams every single day. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And on today's show, we're going to look at the season as a whole for both the Giants and the Reds. That's going to be coming up later on in today's episode. We're going to look at the aces, the two pitchers that will be going on Thursday afternoon, Logan, Webb, and Hunter Greene, and their Cy Young cases, because both of them have good cases, here in just a few minutes. But we will begin today's show by giving you our predictions. We're going to start with the end, something we said in our division preview episodes. We're going to look at these next three games and give you our predictions because it's Reds and Giants to kick off the 2025 season. The Reds and Giants were competitive with one another last season, Ben, and it's something that I think that both of these teams are kind of in similar situations where they really could make some noise, or they could really fall on some hard times depending on how the pendulum swings, especially in the injury category.
Absolutely. And I think a lot of the National League finds itself in the same position where it's just kind of a melee. There, you got your teams at the top and you've got your few teams at the bottom, and then there's a bunch of teams in the middle of it all. And these two are two of them, and each hoping to make the playoffs. But like you said, each could go either direction, I think.
We get 7 teams in the playoffs, so mediocrity reigns when it comes to Major League Baseball. No, I'm feeling good about this, and I think it's interesting because under David Bell, the Reds were horrible at starting seasons. I mean, horrible. There was one season that they started 3-22. So this is a different feel with Terry Francona. And so I'm going to buy in a little bit. I'm going to say they go 2-1. And I think that they've got a win on opening day in them. The vibe around the city right now is just insane. It's going to be a sellout crowd on opening day. There's going to be this energy that Cincinnati can provide. It's something that, unless you have experienced it, you don't fully understand, because there's a block party that begins at 11 a.m. and goes up to game time. There are radio stations and radio shows that are going live at bars around the stadium multiple different times, multiple different shows, all this other stuff. There are so many people that I know that go down to the banks, which is what they call the area around Great American Ballpark, and they just spend the day. Like, they don't even have tickets. They just go down because it's such an atmosphere and it's such a vibe. And so you bring all of that into the stadium, and everybody feels that energy. And I feel as though Terry Francona is going to channel it, where in the past 5 years, David Bell has been a very come as you may, flow as you go type of manager. Terry Francona's got that feeling to him, but he's able to harness it with each of his guys. I think that the Reds take 2 out of 3 here.
I mean, I could see it either way. And I remember last year, I think 2 out of 3 is the answer. The question is which team.
Right.
Last year, I did this with Javier Reyes of Locked On Padres, and it was a 4-game series. I predicted a split, and that's exactly what happened. He predicted the Padres would sweep 4 games. No, not. I was like, come on, man.
That's the hardcore one.
He was dead serious too. He wasn't even joking. But anyway, I think it hinges on opening day, because I think whoever wins. I mean, it's not that crazy of a statement to make that whoever wins the first game of a 3-game series is likely to win the series. But I think at least both teams get a win in this series. And like you said, I mean, opening day in Cincinnati is a big thing, and it's a vibe. I've never been down there or over there, but it's a big thing. And I don't know, like you said, though, there's all this pomp and circumstance, but everything could change if the Giants put up a 3 spot in the first inning, And so baseball is such an unpredictable game. Logan Webb can go out there and take over a game. So can Hunter Greene, and we're going to talk about those two later on. One of the big things, one of the big factors, I think, will be the stolen base, where the Reds have been in like very good, and Elly De La Cruz is like. I recall though Patrick Bailey kind of shut him down the last time the Reds and Giants played in Cincinnati, at least that I remember. So I think for me, it's less about Patrick Bailey and more about can the Giants pitchers hold Reds runners on base in this series, and that'll be a key. And then also, I was looking back at these two teams against each other in Cincinnati the last 3 years, and both teams are allowing a lot of homers, and it's not a surprise. You know, that ballpark is the most home run conducive park in the major leagues, but Giants are allowing almost 2 home runs per 9 innings there the last 3 years. And so and Logan Webb though is like one of the best at preventing home runs. Hunter Greene is one of the most extreme fly ball pitchers in the game. Logan Webb, one of the most extreme ground ball pitchers in the game. So home runs and stolen bases, I think, will be huge in this series. But prediction wise, I mean, I got to take Giants 2 out of 3, but I could totally see it going either way.
I agree with you. I think Patrick Bailey's one of the most important players in this series. For me, on the Reds side of things, I think the most important player in this series, it's a toss-up. I mean, Jose Trevino is going to be the catcher because Tyler Stevenson hit the IL, and he's going to be out, I would expect, the next 3 to 4 weeks. They're a little bit more optimistic than that. There's some reports that have him returning in less time, but with an oblique and being a catcher, I don't want them to rush him back. I'm fine with him missing the first month of the season. And Jose Trevino is a great defensive catcher, but the one thing that he lacks is he's not that great at controlling the running game, whereas Patrick Bailey is elite at it. I mean, Patrick Bailey's elite at everything. He's one of the best catchers in the league, especially with the gloves. So how does that matchup play out? But the thing for me is really going to be Christian Encarnacion Strand, because he's got to start out hot. He's a guy that last year the scouting report was super bullish on him, saying he's a cleanup hitter now. He could be the best hitter in the lineup. He could have the most home runs on the team. And then he started off a little bit slow, and then he got hit on the hand with a pitch in Texas, and his entire season changed. He like broke one bone, and then he got hit a couple of weeks later, broke another bone, and then we found out there was a torn ligament. And so his right hand was basically Luke Skywalker, and he didn't play again. He played very, very little last year. Well, now he's got that bionic right hand, and he's ready to go, and he's looked strong in spring training. I really have liked what I've seen from him. I'm not talking about statistics of spring training. We all know that that doesn't mean anything at all, but it's how he has looked in the field. And I think that if he can get a good start to the season individually, he could jump up into that cleanup spot. He's a guy that, with him healthy in the lineup and with Matt McLain healthy in the lineup, I think this team is different from where it was last season.
Yeah, and I remember Encarnacion Strand, he made his major league debut against the Giants. And he, I think, homered in his second game, and it was a big, maybe hit 2 or something. He made a big impact in that series. And so, yeah, like I said, I think the home run ball. And so if Encarnacion Strand like goes off and hits some tanks in this series, then maybe that's what propels the Reds to winning the series. And the same thing with the stolen base. Like if Elly De La Cruz steals like 6 bases in the series, then the Reds probably win at least 2 out of 3 in the series. And like I was saying earlier, Patrick Bailey is elite. Pop time, best in the game last year. Like from the time he catches it to the time it gets down to second base and third base, best in the game. But Giants pitchers, this is on Baseball Savant. Giants pitchers.
Great website.
One of the worst in the league, 25th overall with minus 11 net bases prevented. So they have not been good at holding runners. And so they allowed a lot of steals despite having the best kind of throwing catcher in the game. And so they've got to be better at holding runners. And it could be something that under new president of baseball operations, Buster Posey, that they emphasized more in spring. I'm not sure. That it wasn't really talked about much, but it's been a big issue with them where their stolen base discrepancy, like they allow a ton and they don't steal themselves. So you mentioned Trevino, but the Giants don't steal a ton. So they don't run a bunch. So they're going to rely on. It could be different under, Matt Chapman stole more bases last year than he had in his whole career combined up until last year. So it could be that, and Willy Adames, he can steal base, and Jung Hoo Lee is healthy and he can steal base. So we'll see if the Giants run on Trevino, and we'll see if the Giants pitchers can control the running game.
Buster Posey's a bad word in Cincinnati, but yeah, no, he's definitely going to stand up for his man Patrick Bailey. I'm sure he probably told him, hey, maybe look over at first every so often, just to him. But no, I know this: the pitching matchup on opening day is going to be elite, and it's between two pitchers who I believe all season, assuming they stay healthy, of course, will be in the Cy Young conversation. We're going to tell you why that is coming up next. But first, I want to tell you about the best snack you can get. That's wonderful pistachios. Right here, I got the chili roasted. Almost out of them. I've been slowing up on how many I've been eating. I'm not going to lie, because I've been eating them so quick. These things are addictive, but they're so good for you, too. They're packed with protein. I mean, we're talking about so much protein. 11% of your daily allotment in a serving. Go get yourself a bag of wonderful pistachios today. Plus the shelled versions like this one, this chili roasted, come in so many great flavors. They also have salt and vinegar. They have jalapeno lime. They have just good roasted, just plain old salt. If you're not looking for any of the crazy flavors, wonderful pistachios has you covered. Drop the chips, drop the pretzels, and get snacking and grit cracking on the snack that packs a protein punch. Visit wonderfulpistachios.com to learn more. Thank you for making Locked On Giants and Locked On Reds our crossover here. Your first listen today and every day. Shout out to our everydayers out there. If you're not an everydayer, hit that subscribe button, because I know Ben's got content all year long. I got content all year long coming for you, covering each of our teams. And I think all year long, we can expect the names Webb and Greene to be up on that list of Cy Young finalists and guys that are going to be vying for it. Obviously, Zach Wheeler's going to be up there. Obviously, Paul Skeens is going to be up there. But these two guys definitely have a great bit to say when it's all said and done.
They absolutely do. Hunter Greene, fantastic season last year, 2.75 ERA in that ballpark. Strikeout rate almost 28%. I mean, there was a ton to like. The one thing that stands out to me is that the home runs went down in the previous two seasons. That's basically, like, when I look at it, that's basically what kind of was the difference between the 2022 and 2023 versus 2024. So I see, perhaps just to throw some cold water on it, just to be a little snarky, like maybe some regression in the home run situation, because it's a tough ballpark to prevent homers in, and he was really good at preventing them last year. And the home run to fly ball ratio was really low, and that's one of those things that can kind of regress to the mean. And for Webb, these guys couldn't be more different as pitchers. Like Hunter Greene, power averages 98 miles an hour with a fastball. I don't need to tell you that. Logan Webb does not, but he's very, very effective with a ground ball style. Hunter Greene, one of the most extreme fly ball pitchers in the game, which is part of why I say home runs could come back a little bit. But for Webb, consistently one of the very lowest launch angles allowed and one of the best at preventing home runs. And for Webb, I just want to point out, he's received Cy Young votes each of the last 3 years. He finished second as recently as 2023 to Blake Snell, who had that dominant run with the Padres down the stretch, in the last 20 starts or whatever. And last year, Webb finished sixth and Hunter Greene finished eighth. And so it's a very legitimate conversation, I think. Legitimate. Hunter Greene is he's not the guy I want to see on opening day. I mean, he's a true number one arm at this point, I think. And that's what you expect on opening day. But he can go out there and take over a game, but so can Logan Webb, just in a different way. A lot of balls on the ground. He can get a strikeout too, but he's just consistent. And the thing that Webb has in his favor is he pitches more innings than almost anybody. I think if you look at the last 3 years, he's number one. The last 2 years, he's been over 200 innings. 204 and 2/3 last year, 216 the year before that, 192 the year before that, and they skipped his last start. And so, because they were out of the playoff race. So anyway, when all is said and done, I think it's easier for a power arm to win a Cy Young than a like sinker ball guy, because you never put up the huge strikeout numbers and it doesn't jump off the page in that way. But Logan Webb certainly has the potential to win a Cy Young, but so does Hunter Greene.
If efficiency were more sexy, Logan Webb would have a huge favorite, huge target on his back when it comes to voting for Cy Young, because dude is efficient. I mean, he's pitched against the Reds 5 times in his career, 33 total innings, i.e. he pitches at least 6 innings every time he faces the Reds. But oh, by the way, he's got 30 strikeouts to 5 walks. He has as many walks as he has starts against the Reds. And I think that more than anything sets a guy up for success. I mean, we talk about it a lot with pitchers, the strikeout to walk ratio. And while the Reds have had a lot of up-and-coming arms, that's kind of been an issue, is that, okay, they strike out some guys, but they allow some free passes too and have some self-inflicted harm, and that Logan Webb does not. And he's only allowed 2 homers against the Reds in his career, both of those at Great American Ballpark. So I hope that the Reds can get one off of him on Thursday. I don't know if that's the case, because like you said, the sinker ball, and he knows how to use it. You're not going to see it up in the zone where it's dangerous to be hit. It's going to be down in the zone where it's going to be ground ball city. And what does that do, when it comes to the different guys hitting ground balls on this team? I'll be interested to see. But he is a guy that I tab every year to be one of the best pitchers in the National League. Greene, on the other hand, one of the things that he added last year, the home run rate coming down a bit, he added this splitter. And he kind of threw it a little bit in 2023, but it was like 2% of the time. He bumped it up to 11% of the time last year, and it was pretty good. I'd say that he probably had some help with it from Frankie Montas and a little bit from Fernando Cruz as well, because both those guys had amazing splitters. But he's been able to kind of buoy his power fastball with the split finger, where he can release it from the same arm slot. He can have it look the same coming out of his hand, and then all of a sudden it falls off the table, where his fastball has almost a bit of like a rising two-seam action to it, where it kind of breaks away from lefties. So I really like what he has developed in that, because we've said ever since he came up, he's been fastball slider. He needs a third pitch, because if everyone's laying off that slider, then they can set fastball and just clobber him. And now they can't do that, because the split finger, he can tunnel really well with it. And I think that was a big reason as to why he took that leap last year. But yeah, he's definitely a dark horse when you consider the options. I don't know, like, and just to go a little bit off of Greene and Webb for a minute, like, do you agree that Skeens should be favored? Because I think it should be Wheeler. Like, Wheeler feels like the guy that everybody's got to beat this year.
Without taking a look at their like numbers right now and projections and all that, I kind of do think that Skeens should be favored, assuming, which is not a safe assumption, that he's let loose and he can pitch a lot of innings. Because it's the Pirates, right? They're going to be protective of a young player like this, because they're not going to spend. And so these are the assets they need to protect, because if they lose a Paul Skeens, then their whole franchise collapses, basically. So, they're going to be probably cautious with him. So maybe you're right, but based on innings. Whereas I think Wheeler will go out there and throw a gazillion innings as much as he wants. If he tells Rob Thompson, I want the ball, he's going to get the ball. And it's just Skeens, his stuff. I mean, the performance however old he was as a rookie, was just off the charts, unbelievable. But I to make a confident statement, for me, I would want to like look at their player pages on like Fangraphs. But and I think the Giants only faced Skeens one time last year, and they actually hit him pretty well. I think they were one of the only teams that got to him. It was early on, but I saw the numbers at the end of the year, obviously, and I saw him pitch from time to time, highlights and whatnot. But that's a tough dude you're going to be dealing with in that division for a long time. Until the Pirates don't pay him in free agency.
Yeah, right. I was going to say 5 or 6 years. something like that. But yeah, he's a guy that it feels like if you score 2 runs off of, then you've had a good day. And I feel the same way about Logan Webb. If the Reds can get 2 runs off of him, I'm going to feel a lot better about my prediction that the Reds will get that opening day win. But I know this, it's a long season ahead. And opening day is a lot of fun, but it's one of 162. And the 162, it's going to be interesting for both of our ball clubs, as I think our hopes kind of hinge on a knife's edge when it comes to a couple of different things. Talk about what that is coming up next. But first, I want to tell you guys about the best one-stop shop when it comes to your finances, and that is Monarch Money. Seriously, you put all of your accounts in one place. Your deposit accounts, your credit accounts, your investment accounts can all be on one screen. So you're not just surviving, you're thriving with your finances, because you can build goals, you can build savings, and you can see it all in that one spot. Monarch Money is something that helps me too. I love their ability to set up alerts. You know, you get a notification when you get a deposit, you get a notification if you make a big purchase, and you can set what those thresholds are so that if you're looking to save that money, you can. Go to monarchmoney.com today, and you can put in the promo code LOCKEDONMLB for 50% off, half off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONMLB for 50% off your first year. And also want to shout out Supply House today, talking about the best way to get your plumbing, HVAC, or electrical supplies over on supplyhouse.com. They got an easy-to-use website, so easy to use that I know that Ben's used it.
I have. I was in need of a kind of hard to find filter for my HVAC system, and Supply House was there for me and made the process super simple. And I ordered like 4 of them, and they were reasonably priced, and they came quick, and it was just a great experience all around. So 2 thumbs up for Supply House.
So it's always a huge plus for me, because I only have a little bit of knowledge when it comes to, like, you know, home improvement type things. And so websites like Supply House are the way to go with that. Plus, if you are a worker in the skilled trades, they have a Trade Master program that offers exclusive perks like a dedicated phone line, free shipping, and discounts on every order. So join that Trade Master program today, and check out supplyhouse.com. The Trade Master program is at supplyhouse.com/TM, and you can go to Supply House and start ordering plumbing, HVAC, and electrical supplies with just a few clicks. Plus, use the promo code SH5 for 5% off your first order. That's supplyhouse.com. Thank you so much for joining us on this Locked On Giants, Locked On Reds crossover. We will be with you every single day all throughout the year, covering each of our teams, so make sure you subscribe. Plus, we're on all of the audio platforms out there. Seriously, I don't know a audio podcasting platform that we're not on, so you can subscribe there as well. All right, Ben, coming into this season, kind of feels like the Giants are maybe we'll see what happens when it comes to the NOS, especially when you got the Dodgers that spent $500 gajillion billion on their roster. And then on the NL Central side of things, there are a lot of people that are intrigued by the Reds, but they do admit that there are a wide range of outcomes. And I think that's the case for both of our teams.
100%. It's like I said in the very beginning, I think that these two teams find themselves in that middle ground that any team could rise out of and any team could fall down. And unfortunately, as a Giants fan, it's not that they've fallen and been terrible, but they've just been maddeningly mediocre the last 3 years. They 81 and 81, 80 and 82, and 79 and 83. Those are their records the last 3 years. So just like right around that 500 mark, a little bit below on average, like 1 game below. And what did they do? Well, they lost Blake Snell, but they added Willy Adames, who you're very familiar with in the NL Central.
Glad he's gone.
Yeah, so that's, obviously he's a very, very good player, and he's made nothing but great impressions so far with the Giants. And it was nice to see them, shell out $182 million to a player. He's only 29. It's not like he's 31 or something. So you've still got some peak years in him. And last year was a very good year for Willy Adames. Struggled a little bit defensively, but at for most of his career, he's been very good defensively. And then you look at that left side of the infield with Matt Chapman, who signed an extension at the end of last season. You've got two really good players on the left side, like two really good veteran players and some of the most respected and well-liked players in the game, I would argue, on the left side of the infield in Adames and Chapman. And that's something they've lacked for a long time, is kind of like core players like that who aren't like 36 years old, because they had aging player like Brandon Belt and Brandon Crawford and even Buster Posey late or early in the 2020s. But now they've got a couple of guys that are still in their prime. And then you mix in some young guys like Patrick Bailey. We mentioned Jung Hoo Lee is only 26, and they gave him a $112 million contract. So, and then they've got some young pitching that I think a lot of people have not heard about, but you will know these names by the end of the year. Hayden Birdsong, Landon Roop. Those are two names to really pay attention to. And I know you heard me mention Carson Wisenhunt when we were doing the NL West crossover. But
these names, man, I love
their
them.
starting staff. You look at Justin Verlander, who you're probably going to see, I think, in the second game, and that could be it. I have no idea that there's a lot of X factors on this team. Like, does Justin Verlander have a good season or a terrible season? It could be either. Robbie Ray, is he Cy Young Robbie Ray, or is he like bad Robbie Ray? Don't know. And a lot of young players too. And it's like, don't know. And the season will depend on many different X factors for the Giants that are unknowns.
That's something that I feel like the Reds, a talking point they've had for the last couple of years, but we're to the point now where it's like, okay, you got to prove if you're young or if you're just not good. Like there's a point where you stop being an enigma and we just know who you are. And I think we've reached that point with a couple of different players that we really need to see more out of. And the good news is Terry Francona's already decided to send a couple of them to AAA. Noelvi Marte and Will Benson, who both combined for negative 2.8 WAR last year, are not going to be on the team, at least to begin the season. They've got to go prove something down in Louisville. So the players that replaced them, they were able to switch Jonathan India for a reliable starter and Brady Singer. He adds something to the rotation. As much as Brady Singer's kind of been just he's fine type of pitcher for his career so far, he does something that the Reds haven't had in a while, and he's thrown 30 starts in a year. The Reds haven't had a guy do that since Luis Castillo. So when you look at what he brings to the table, and then Gavin Lux replacing Jonathan India as the super utility, Gavin Lux does have more positional flexibility than India. And then I also think that some of the other moves, especially under the radar moves in the bullpen with Scott Barlow and your guy, Taylor Rogers, I really think is going to transform this bullpen into more of a strength than people are expecting, because they have so much experience now with those two guys, Emilio Pagan. And they're going to have Brent Suter as well in there, but they also have some up-and-coming guys in Tony Santillan and moving Graham Ashcraft over to the bullpen that could be very intriguing. Tony Santillan, of course, has shown it a little bit in the bullpen these last few years. And Graham Ashcraft has that devastating cut fastball and sweeper combo that, while it never really played up as a starter, and it seemed like he would get to the third time through the lineup and it would just be a absolute, batting practice show, I think that the Reds understood that and said, all right, let's kind of pare you down a little bit, focus you in, get you to 1 to 2 innings maybe, and that's really where we're going to get the good value from you. I think that's going to work, and we got to see it. He's got to do it, but I predict that it'll work in some fashion. But the bullpen's just going to be a bunch of guys. I don't think they're going to have one closer, especially with Alexis Diaz starting the year on the injured list. There's not going to be one guy get 20 or more saves on this team, but I think there's going to be at least 3, maybe 4 guys get 10 or more saves on this team, just because they're going to be in a lot of close ball games. But I feel like this year they're going to pay attention better to the details than they did last year, where they were a really bad luck 1-run ball club. That's going to flip. I'd say I'm predicting a 500 season when it comes to 1-run ball games. I think they win 83 ball games. And if a lot more goes right, they could win the division if they catch lightning in a bottle in a couple of cases.
Yeah, the Reds that's the beauty of the NL Central that I'm a little bit jealous of.
Say,
I
bet you wish you were in the division. Too.
Certainly, if the Giants were in the Central, I'd be like, they could win the division for sure.
Right.
But in the West, it's a little bit tougher to say that, and you can't say that without someone looking at you like you're insane.
The Dodgers over/under's like 104.5. Like, what are we doing?
Well, I said smash the under on that because that's too high. I said it last year too, and they were well under. I mean, they're not by a ton, but like 6 under whatever it was last year. That's just too high of a number. It's hard. Like even if you're great, like it's just not. It's just not.
The 1976 Reds that swept the Yankees in the World Series won 104 ball games, so they would have hit the under on that.
Yeah, exactly. And the Giants, when they won 107 in 2021. I mean it just felt like they won every day. You know, it's just hard to win that many games. The Dodgers have done it multiple times in this stretch.
Look forward to a year like that. I want to know what that feels like.
That was amazing, but then they lost in the first round of the playoffs, so that stunk on a check swing where he didn't actually swing. But I'm not still upset about that or anything. But anyway, for the Giants, I don't know. I think perhaps like the vibes are high, and I know that spring training results don't mean much at all, but the Giants played out of their minds in spring. They were 21-6. I don't know if you're aware of this. 21-6. They had some ties as well. Run differential backed it up. They had the best run differential in baseball, plus 57. Their pitching was phenomenal. They just emphasized like pounding the strike zone. They are a team that does not walk a lot of people. You mentioned Webb and his ability to throw strikes. They're kind of a team of guys that throw strikes. And so they're going to put the pressure on the Reds. Might that lead to some home runs? That's what I'm saying. We'll see. And if the ball does fly out of the ballpark, then advantage. I mean, if the Reds hit some home runs, then advantage Reds. But we'll see how it all goes. Obviously, the Reds have home field advantage, so that in this series, so that plays a role. And maybe if they were in San Francisco, it'd be easier to say Giants win 2 out of 3. So maybe they split the season series when all is said and done. But that's how tight these teams in the middle are, I think. And for the Giants, it's very hard for me to put a win total like prediction on them. Like I would want to say something similar to what you said. Like they could like 83, but if everything goes right, they could win closer to 90. If everything goes wrong, maybe mid 70s or something. But I think somewhere it's not that wide of a. I think the floor is higher. Like they're not going to be horrible. But there is some ceiling because of some of the young pitching that I mentioned, and then guys like Tyler Fitzgerald, Elliot Ramos, and Jung-Hoo Lee, who we haven't seen yet in the major leagues for an extended period, plus the upside of the veteran guys like Adames and Chapman. They could finally have a guy hit 30 home runs for the first time since 2004. Every other team's done it, I think, at least 4 times or something, and the Giants have had 0 since Bonds in 2004. My hot take, they'll have 2 guys do it this year.
I like it. It's going to be a lot of fun. I know this. Baseball's back, and I'm so excited for it. It's going to be a great day on Thursday, and then the other 161 are going to happen as well. And it's going to be a lot of fun to watch. Make sure that you check out Locked On Giants and Locked On Reds every single day, because we're going to be with you every single day covering each of our ball clubs. Subscribe on YouTube and on your favorite podcasting platforms. We are part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every single day.